What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Xailas back here with you with another figure review. This time we are taking a look at the PlayArts Kai variant Star Wars Boba Fett. Now this guy is awesome. From the very beginning when I was a little guy and I watched Star Wars for the first time in The Empire Strikes Back. First time I saw Boba Fett, he instantly became my favorite character, my favorite Star Wars character, because he just looked so badass, and his mannerisms and everything were just so badass that I just fell in love with the guy instantaneously. Like, he's just the epitome of a badass bounty hunter. He's got all the traps, man. He's got the armor, he's got the attitude, he's got the weapons. So I mean, if you want to talk about a bounty hunter, a space bounty hunter, it doesn't get much cooler, much more badass than this guy right here. And I, being a Star Wars fan in general and a Boba Fett fan more specifically, when I heard that PlayArts Kai was doing a variant line on some Star Wars characters, immediately Boba Fett came to mind, and I was hoping that they were going to release a Boba Fett in that line. And sure enough, they did, and here he is. I jumped at picking him up as soon as he became available for pre-order, and I've had this dude for a little while now. And he is just one of my favorite figures. I mean, Boba Fett, again, is just timeless. He's classic. So we're going to take a look at this awesome figure. They did an excellent job. I'm just going to say that right out front, that this figure right here is a piece of work for sure, in all the best ways. You can see just as he stands there, his paintwork and everything is spot on. He's definitely Boba Fett. I mean, you can see the golds, the greens, the grays in the flight suit, and the reds in the gauntlet and the red on the visor with the deep black visor in there. It's all signature Boba Fett, and it just comes through on this figure fantastically. Now, this is the PlayArts Kai variant redesign, so this is pretty wildly different than the original design of Boba Fett. Unfortunately, I don't have a large-scale standard Boba Fett figure to compare it to at the moment. I do have this little guy right here, which I've had for so many years. He's just chilled on my shelf for, gosh, I don't know, probably 10-15 years now, but this is the closest I'm going to be able to give you guys a kind of a reference to what the original Boba Fett design looks like compared to the PlayArts Kai, or the Japanese redesign, if you will. So you can see pretty wildly different, but it's still Boba Fett. Like, it's still distinctly Boba Fett. You can see that they added new details, new pieces of armor, like through the legs and all that, in all the right places, where it just adds a lot more to the character. It doesn't take away anything from the character per se. He's got everything from like the Wookiee braids to the side pouches on the side in the original here have been kind of changed to looks like maybe like C4 Star Wars type of C4 charges that he has down in there, and his tool belt has just been kind of updated with a more modern kind of sleek look to it, and of course the shoulder pauldrons here have been modified to look a lot more industrial, a lot more modern, and the armor in general has just been given a much more rougher kind of steely type of look that I just am loving with this guy. So as I said, this is the PlayArts Kai variant, the Japanese redesign of this figure. I'm just going to spin him around a little bit so you can see a little bit more of the details. The Japanese love their sharp designs in their armor, so you're going to see that come across here very all over the place. He's going to have sharp designs, sharp in the shoulders, sharp in the knees, very sharp, angular type of a redesign on the armor, and it suits Boba Fett so well. But again, they maintained all of the classic signature Boba Fett stuff. The side cape, the jetpack. I mean, look at that jetpack. It just looks so sweet. Very close to the original design with a few slight modifications. But it all just comes together so well. Nice bronze bronze paint right on the top of the missile there, on the top of the jetpack. So yeah, man, look at the paint work on this guy. Just the scuffing and the wear and tear, the dry brushing, everything just comes together. And this guy looks so freaking sweet. Taking a look at some of the details here, Square Enix has been doing this kind of tactic with some of their paint here, like on some of the little pieces that are supposed to be lighted on the figures. They've added this really nice kind of overspray, if you will, or this little glow to the pieces that are supposed to be lighted, and it really looks like there's actually little lights there, when in fact it's actually just paint and it's not actually lighted up right there. But it's painted in such a way where he looks like his suit is lighted up in several areas, just because that's the way that the paint is applied. It's really, really nice tactic that they've been using on a few of their figures lately, and it's working awesome. I really like it. So he actually gives off the illusion that he's a lighted figure when you see him from certain angles, so it's really cool. He's got the classic articulation for Play Arts Kai figures, and this is a modern Play Arts Kai figure, so he's got the modern joints, which are pretty darn good. He's got a really good design overall, I think. I think he works in pretty much every way without any complaints. I mean, I don't really have any complaints articulation-wise. He's got great movement up here until his shoulder starts to kind of clip into his helmet a little bit. He's got the ratcheting elbow joints in there, really nice. And he comes inside, he's got kind of the rubber chest, as is common with the Play Arts Kai figures these days, so he does come inward quite a bit there, quite adequately. And he comes just about up to a full 90 degree, you can see there. So really, really nice in the arms. He has a bicep swivel in here as well, so if you want to get a little bicep going, he's got a little bicep swivel. And the armor is done in such a way where even if you swivel it a lot, it all is going to look like it meshes together really nicely. You're not going to see any ugly gapping or anything in there. Great wrist joint, ball joint on the wrist. If I were to have one complaint with the wrist, it's that the ball joint is pretty large. You can see the ball pretty good in there. If it was a little bit smaller, a little more concealed, even if it was at the expense of a little bit of articulation, I think I'd have probably liked that a little bit better. But as it stands, the ball joints in there kind of make his arm a tiny bit long on both sides. His arms are just a little bit longer than they should be. If the hand was actually a little closer to the wrist there, it would be a little better. Same thing in the elbow too. The joint is just a little too exposed for my taste, but it doesn't take away from the figure. It's still a great figure, and of course you're getting the articulation for it, so it's not like you're out anything. Same articulation on the other side, on both sides. Great articulation in both of the arms. The wrists are sweet. In the torso, lots of play in the torso. Of course, he's got a real nice crunch here, forward and back. As is typical with these figures these days, if you go too far, you're going to start to see a little gapping. You can see a little bit of that gap in there. In the back, you're not even going to be able to see any of the gapping in the back at all, just because the way it's designed, the jetpack is concealing everything. Super nice. So that's not going to be an issue at all. He gets a little bit of torso twist in there as well, so you can see a nice little bit of twisting going on in there. So you can get those little twisting poses, again, without too much gapping at all. It's really, really nicely designed. I love the way they did this guy. The legs are great too. Lots of movement in his legs. Comes almost all the way out to 90 degrees forward, just like this. And double jointed knee, as is very common with Play Arts Kai. Very nicely done. Could have used a little bit of paint inside the joints there, just to conceal it. But this is the flight suit, so it is supposed to be gray. But if they would have just brushed a little bit of dark spots, which I can do, no problem. I can do that myself if it bothers me that much, but it doesn't. But yeah, I've actually heard some people say that they would have liked it if this was the green. Some greens were painted in here. And that's not actually supposed to be green. That's actually supposed to be the flight suit. So there's a very good reason why it's gray in the knee joints there and not green. Because he is wearing his gray flight suit underneath with the green armor panels over the top of the suit. So that is actually supposed to be gray in there. I just think it could have used a little more kind of black detail in there. Look at this leg armor, guys. That just looks so sweet. I mean, if you're a fan of like Halo, the Spartans, or like the armor designs in Destiny, or really any kind of modern Space Marine type of armor, this is going to be right up your alley. I mean, it just looks so great. It's really nicely sculpted. This is about as pro as it gets when it comes to sculpting armor. The Japanese really know their stuff when it comes to their armored characters, and so it really shows really nicely in this figure. So he also has this little bit of articulation here in his cape, and he's got kind of a ball joint right here, you can see, and so you can actually move the cape around as well. And this is pretty nice. It's definitely nice that they gave you that option, especially if you're going to put him in kind of a flying type of a pose. But you know, I actually feel like this would be a better figure if this cape, as well as this is done. This is done really well. The paint and everything looks great, and it looks like fabric, believe it or not, even though it's just kind of a rubbery piece of plastic. I actually think that this would be a much better figure if you just get a little bit of a cloth, an actual fabric material, and remove this and actually fit some real cloth on the side of this figure. That's actually what I'm going to do for mine. I'm going to go ahead and replace this. I mean, it's nice and everything, and it's cool, it works, but I just think the quality of the figure overall would be better if this was an actual cloth cape side piece. But I mean, it looks great. Like I said, paint's awesome. It doesn't look out of place. It fits the figure, so it's not a big deal at all. Accessories wise, he comes with a nice array of things, pretty much everything you would expect this figure to come with. He comes with, of course, his blaster here. This is signature Boba Fett, the E11, I believe it is. This is his blaster that he uses in the films, his customized E11 blaster. Now this, of course, did get the Play Arts Kai treatment as well, so it's not exactly like the one that Boba Fett used in the films, but it's very close. It's definitely still the same blaster. It just has a few little extra bells and whistles. Slightly elongated stock in the back, and a few little extra details on the barrel, and just a very nice looking piece, nice looking weapon, and he holds it very well. So definitely an awesome rifle for him to use there. He also comes with a blaster pistol, and what bounty hunter would be complete without a sidearm here, a nice sidearm blaster pistol. And you can see he has this nice little holster right here in the back that it fits very nicely into, almost too nicely. But really nice design. It's got just some nice little dry brushing on it, so it looks used. You know, like he's fired it a few times. Definitely looks very Star Wars. So it's right at home in this guy's arsenal. He comes with two knives on the back here of his legs, or on the sides rather. This is really cool. One of my favorite parts of the figure actually is he has these two knives on the sides here, and they are removable, of course, and really nicely done knives. Great detail on them. They fit perfectly in his little sheaths there for his knives, and I just thought that was so cool how they gave him two instead of just one. It just makes the figure look even better, having those knives on the sides of his legs there. It's just so killer. Probably his biggest accessory is his flamethrower. Now you guys, those of you who know Boba Fett, know that he does have a flamethrower on his left gauntlet, and this is actually a fantastic accessory that they give you. Now here it is. Here's the flame that they give you, and this thing looks freaking awesome. Like, this looks like flame. Like, it really does. I've never seen a better, more well-made flame accessory on any figure, and I've seen a few, and this is just done so well. And an interesting thing to note about this is that you can see this little hole right here. If you look very carefully, you can see a little hole right there in his gauntlet, and it looks like originally they had planned to just give you this flame part that would plug into that hole right there. But that's actually not how this accessory works. You actually take off this entire top piece of this gauntlet right here and replace it with this new top piece of the gauntlet that already has the flame coming out of it. So I think they scrapped that idea just because it wasn't staying up very well, and they just went ahead and changed the design to replacing the entire top piece of the gauntlet, but the hole is still there. They didn't change the sculpt. And interestingly enough, they actually give you a little stand to help hold up the flame when he's got it on his arm. He actually, let me put it on here. And it's just, oh, his whole arm just popped off there. Pull this off. Come on, there we go. And then you just pop that right on there as the replacement. It's kind of like a puzzle piece. There we go. And pop the arm back on. Nice and easy. And there you go. That just looks killer. It looks so realistic. The fire just looks so realistic. So you can really get some cool looking flamethrower shots there with this guy. But on the bottom of the flame, it has this little peg hole right here. And that's actually for this little stand here that they give you. It actually helps to keep the flame up. But he has no problem holding this up. His joints are strong enough to hold that up, no problem, because it's anchored to his forearm there. Now, interestingly, this would be required if they would have stuck with this design where you just put it in the hole. But they scrapped that design and went back to the forearm, or they changed it to the forearm, but they still give you this thing, which you no longer need because they made it a forearm clamp instead of just the hole. But I thought that was just a little interesting tidbit that I noticed with this figure. So they do give you this, but you don't need it. His joints are very strong, so they don't have any trouble holding up that flame there. So great design on the flame. One of my favorite accessories of any figure is that flame there. It just looks great. Aside from the knives, the blaster, the pistol, the flamethrower, he does come with some really cool thruster accessories for his jetpack in the back. Now in the bottom of the jetpack here at the thruster ports, he does have two little holes there that you can put these really cool thruster accessories in the bottom there, just like that. And like that. And these also are very well done, just like the flame on the flamethrower. And this gives him the effect that he's using his jetpack, kind of taken off there. So you can really get some sweet poses going with this guy. If you use your stand, you know, he comes with the standard Play Arts Kai stand, this guy. But you can really get some sweet poses going. And you know, with the flamethrower, with the jetpack, I mean, you can already see what kind of cool stuff you can get going with this guy. So one of my favorite figures, like right off the bat, I knew that this guy was going to be sweet. You know, he was going to have all kinds of options, and the accessories that they gave him, everything's just right. Everything was looking, you know, sweet, and highly recommend this figure right here. Because any way you pose him, I mean, he looks just pretty freaking cool. And if you're a Boba Fett or Star Wars fan, you gotta pick him up. Now there are some other figures in this series. There's the Darth Vader, the Darth Maul, and the Stormtrooper. And I did pick up the Stormtrooper. I haven't opened him up yet. I'm not real sure I wanna hang on to him. I'm thinking about letting him go. But you know, I definitely had to pick up Boba Fett because he is my favorite Star Wars character. And I'm so glad I did. He's an awesome figure, and you can't go wrong picking this guy up. They did a great job with the sculpt, great job with the paint, nice accessories, great articulation. Everything's right on this guy. If I were to have a gripe, like I said, it's just the ball joints and the arms are a little too big, a little too apparent. And some people have said that they feel like the head is too small on this figure. And believe it or not, I actually thought that too when I was looking at the pictures of it at first. Before I got this guy, I was kind of thinking, the head looks a little bit small. But trust me when I say this, when you get the figure in front of you, when you're holding him, when you're looking at it, it is not too small. It really looks great. It looks perfect. It's, you know, it works well. The composition of this figure works really well. So don't fear the head thing. It's really not as big a deal as you think. I was one of those people who was thinking, you know, they may have screwed up on the head a little bit, and it works. Everything just comes together. It works really well. It's not a deal breaker for me at all. It looks great in person. I don't know why, for some reason in the pictures it looks like his head is a little small, but in reality, he looks sweet. He looks perfect. So don't let that throw you off of picking this guy up. Like I said, I would change the cape out to an actual fabric. Aside from that, this guy is sweet. Pick him up. He's pretty new still, so you expect to pay anywhere between $100 $125 to pick this guy up. I really can't say how popular these figures, these Star Wars Play Arts Kai figures, are going to be. I know the Darth Vader right now is really, really hard to find. I would have loved to have picked that guy up, but I was a little late on that one. So, you know, he's going for like upwards of $200 $300 right now. This Boba Fett, I think you can still find if you get on it for, you know, $125. So pick him up. He's a great figure. You'll be very happy with him. You won't be disappointed. And that's going to be about it for this guy. Thanks so much for watching this video, guys. I hope you'll come back for the next review. Be sure to subscribe if you like this video, like it. If you don't, then dislike it. And yeah, stay tuned for more from me. Xailas out, guys. Take it easy.